Welcome, everybody. Welcome to GameBreakers. This is, of course, Thomas. We're here today with our good friend Diamond, and she and I are going to be playing some one-on-one D&D. I am dusting off my old homebrew D&D world after many, many years of of running it and having left it aside, and we're gonna show it off on the channel. So this session, we're going to be doing some of our session zero, a little bit of technical stuff, getting kind of into the groove of D&D. I'm going to be introducing my homebrew world to Diamond because she and I have never played before. We've talked about it for years, and I had to get all you people involved just to get a game with Diamond. So, thanks, Internet. So we'll be introducing a little bit of the way things and cultures work in my world and doing some character generation, and this will be a weekly thing. So I guess let's dive right in. You've rolled up some stats. You've looked at least initially at kind of the layout of the way bards work. Let's talk about some choices you've already made. Your stat layout was okay, right?
It was. Yeah, I've definitely rolled better. My highest is in a charisma, which is 15. I have 2 14s in dex and constitution, 11s and everything else, and it's sort of like, well, you do okay.
Yeah, you're not bad at anything. I mean, as far as stat wise goes, like you don't have a dump stat. You don't have anything.
There's no 9s. There's not a 6.
Right. And one nice thing in 5th edition is none of the starting races, and actually none of the races that I've looked at, have a negative to any of their stats. It's only bonuses. So that's an interesting thing to note.
You start at normal and just get better. So
right.
As Thomas said, we're going with I'm going to be a bard, and spent a little bit of time deciding about races. Decided on a hill dwarf. We've been talking about background, which is exciting. I'm currently deciding between noble and entertainer for background, which seems. I was just reading about. I was
going to suggest artisan or craftsman as well, because we talked about like you started out in one career maybe and sort of moved into barding.
Yeah, and there's clan crafter is totally another one of those, and gives you like. The additional language for a traveler is pretty useful. It's like language is Dwarvish, or one other of your choice if you already speak Dwarvish. Seems like it would be a bad one. Also, it refers to what I'm reading refers to them as the stout folk, and I feel some kinship with that. Gotta say. So I think it would be, but the crafting would be what? Like, does she end up crafting pipes?
Potentially. Crafting works a little different in 5th edition than it does in other editions. It's not a craft skill anymore. What you are is proficient with a set of tools. So if you're proficient with like metalworking tools, you can make any given thing out of metal. Metal tools, including like a flute or an instrument made of metal. So different tool proficiencies will kind of help that. And instrument proficiencies work the same way. You no longer have a performance skill. You have instruments you're proficient in.
Okay.
So that'll come in.
Yeah. Oh, it's so hard. All right. So, I mean, it ends up being based on the bonuses, because it could really go either way. It could go the entertainer and just do sort of straight bard, or do a crafter. The thing is, like, the acrobatics and performance, like, it's the dwarf with a pair of bagpipes. Like, I'm not really sure that I want a love letter from an admirer. I'm just confused now. Although the by popular demand feature looks really very useful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And dwarves, and I think I like crafter better than noble.
Okay.
Noble thing. I think it might be instead like skill. Instead of metal skill, I actually think I'd go with leather working skill.
Okay.
Because that's also something that I actually have a pretty decent and thorough understanding of, so I could use that knowledge in the game. Whereas metalwork, I'm like, stuff melts.
Right,
Yeah.
you get it hot.
I could probably, I could spend an hour with the internet and give a speech about it. Doesn't mean that I actually know anything about it.
Right, you couldn't actually perform the action.
So
But could you pretend to be a person who could perform the action? That's really all that's required for D&D.
It's true, but I feel... I think that leatherwork still works really well with the dwarven everything. And it is a specific kind of tools. It has its own sort of historical thing. It works with sort of how we think of dwarves. And it looks really pretty. It means I get to wear some pretty gear, which is nice.
Bonus points.
Okay, so I put Clan Crafter in there.
Okay.
Yay. Where were we? So we have a background now. And I close the backgrounds. Oh, that probably was a bad idea. Can we do plugs for things we like?
Yeah.
Okay. So, having not really played, I sort of played one odd 5th edition D&D game one time with, like, 4 guys who had never played any tabletop role-playing, so except for the GM, and he was just like, we're gonna just sort of, like, forget about most of the rules so that they actually show up and play. It was alright. It was fun. I was obnoxious. But it also means I'm a little less familiar with some of it. So, and I'm forwarding on the books. So I'm actually using Order of the Sticks, gonna play a Bard's Guide, and I really, really like Order of the Stick. I'm a little out of date on all of my webcomics right now, but I've really enjoyed them for quite a while. So read it. It's good. Good comic. And, gamer geeks. Yay. Unnecessary plug, but I like it, and I'm using them, so might as well. I decided on College of Lore. Now where the hell am I doing? Where am I going? Alright. We have class, we have race, and subrace. And all that other exciting stuff. I think it's now on...
Oh, I was just agreeing with you.
I have to find apparently shoemaker is one that I could be. Leatherwork is already in there. Beautiful. Then it's personality traits, I guess.
Yeah. And again, this is kind of a guidepost. I mean, you have played enough D&D that these will be very easy, but they're still like good guidepost things to work off of. I find that the personality, like the way they have the system put together, is solid for novice role players. It's really good introduction to thinking about how a character works. But, it's not binding. It's good food for thought.
I sort of see yours got it. I guess I'm feeling the friendly, so I'm full of really... I don't know how to pronounce that. Aphorisms? What is aphorisms?
All that I can reference in my head is euphemism, and I know that's not it. Aphorism.
It's going to be the same base. So aphorism is a pithy observation that contains a general truth, such as if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which is better if you spell broke, Baroque. That's a great joke. There. It's great if it ain't.
We're already getting into band geek humor, I see.
So I'm full of witty aphorisms and have a proverb for every occasion, and I like to talk at length about my profession. Seem to be, maybe.
The technicalities of barding. It's not all just playing on a stage. I mean, hours and hours of music theory. I studied music in college, so it's It's not all just playing on the stage.
You sure?
So speaking of which, I introduced it to you when we were talking earlier. But so in my world, in my homebrew, there are deep currents of Dragonlance, because that was what introduced me really to like whole fantasy settings. So in my homebrew world, I suppose I should name the planet eventually. The Republic, which is where most of the playtime happens, has a treaty with what's called Angel Wing Isle, where the Academy of Wizardry is located. That all spellcasters in the realm must have been accredited by this academy. They have to have the stamp, otherwise they're a renegade.
And one tower's white, and one's black, and one's red. And even if it's not the case, that's what's happening in my head.
That is exactly what it is. That is exactly what it is. And I take it one step further. By the way, there are 2 visible moons on this world. One of them, white and glowing. One of them, rust red. One of them, nobody can see, unless you've gone through the training in the Black Tower. Now, in my world, it's less mystical. This is a super spoiler that nobody ever gets to until like super epic level shit happens in my world, which maybe we'll get there. But I'll give you the spoiler right now. One of them's a space station. And the other one's a black hole.
That makes perfect. Whoa. My brain is like recalibrating everything I know about Dragonlance, like with that. Like you made a whole okay.
There's a lot of features and flavors that go along with Dragonlance, but the history and chronology and all the things, like, that's very, very different. There are wars with dragons that mark epochs in history because by the end of the war, an entire era of history has been destroyed. So every time there's a dragon war, it's basically like fucking reset. It's been probably 4,000 years since the last one, long enough for the empire to rise and consolidate about half a continent.
Cool. You have a map somewhere, I hope.
I do. Buried, I have some hand-drawn maps that I drew in jail. Because you don't have a lot of time in jail. Or you do have a lot of time in jail. So, but anyway. Right, whole other story. In the meantime,
very entertaining.
So the Dwarven lands lie outside. They are a sovereign nation. And one thing I wanted to find out was whether you're going to be native to the sovereign Dwarven lands or to the Republic, which is a little fairly metropolitan. It's definitely a human nation, but it's not human supremacist.
So I'm over here going through the sort of like the little bit of fine-tuning gauges they give you for the character. Sure. Is what I'm thinking about how it's hard not to be she in my head, so I think I'm probably just going to go with that because leatherworker and personality, so witty aphorisms, but also I want to know how things work and what makes people tick, which is a useful skill for any entertainer to have because it's the asking questions from people. It also gives me sort of the opportunity to play a pleasant sociopathic character. If that makes sense. Like just interested in the things that are happening and then doing the thing.
Right. Right. I just want to know what makes you you.
Ideal, I think, is going to be freedom.
Okay.
The bond selections, I can type my own, and I don't know if they'll necessarily do better than the ones that they have. But I owe my guild a great debt for forging me into the person I am today.
Maybe they sponsored you into the Bard College to get you out of the Forge.
I like it. I think that's a great idea. Just a bit. One of the flaws suggests no one must ever learn that I once stole money from guild coffers. And I'm like, then why would you write that on a character sheet if you don't want to?
Right, right. Well, as soon as I tell the GM, everybody knows.
I feel like just writing in a flaw, because I mean flaws are where it's fun for me. One of the games I really like that maybe we'll get to touch, which is Fate's Worse Than Death, like literally encourage you to add a bunch of flaws to your character and just make an amalgam player character out of flaws, which becomes a lot of fun to play and I assume to GM.
Yeah, I mean, negative qualities, flaws, that side of character generation is really story hooks for me. Like, if you had stolen guild money, well, guess what's going to come up later.
And I don't want to deal with that.
You'd rather owe a debt to your family.
Yeah. I mean that's an easy hook. Like, yeah, okay. I feel like a flaw might be this sort of, ooh, how do I say that? Like, it's not really a difficulty under, shit. Half of my brain seems to be working.
Right, what is flawed about you?
That's why I want my characters to be perfect.
Well, maybe we move forward from here, and as we like put up skills or something, a flaw will appear.
Probably.
So, you know, as we flesh out the character, we'll we'll discover more about them. I always think of it like, was it Rodin or Michelangelo, famous sculptor, said that he wasn't carving things out of the rock; he was just setting free what was already in it.
Yep.
I think of character creation like that. I am just discovering this fascinating creature that lived in my head the whole time.
All right. So, what am I doing next?
I think it's skills. Are we to there?
And I'm trying to tell it that I am a bard in all 5 levels first. No, not a barbarian. Bard. Although a barbarian bard, for the record, would be a lot of fun to play if I hadn't already started making.
I have done it.
That, oh my god!
I have done it. A half-orc scald, badass bard of war. Yeah, you can do it.
Do I get
all combat flavored with it?
It's not auto-loading hit points, and I think it should be, but I'm going to worry about that later. College of Lore. Have a subclass option. Cool.
Now, let's go ahead and read out College of Lore for the folks watching at home that have not done this before.
All right. Let me roll up a little. College of Lore. So the bards go to different colleges, basically, or they have, it's more like areas of study. Like, you can be various different kinds of scientists. You can be an astronomist, I can sentence, a cosmologist, a physicist, while all those are still scientists and are sort of based on the same idea, similar with the colleges. The College of Lore, and I'm reading from Order of the Styx here, is for bards truly devoted to the story and song. In his quest for learning, the lore bard gains more skills, more magic, and some truly awesome abilities that makes him an excellent support character. Arguably the greatest caster for the game.
It's true. I mean, especially if you dabble a little in some multi-class, like hit some sorcerer on the way through up to level 20.
I just realized Order of the Stick is actually what turned me on to bards as a character class. It works.
I love the bard in that one.
Oh my god!
Intelligence is a dump stat.
All right.
Elan, right? And his evil twin Nail or Nali.
Elan backwards.
Yep.
All right, so skills. I'm looking for skills on this page. Oh, there we go. There they are. I found them.
And bards get trained in a lot. And you've also gotten some potential trainings from your background and College of Lore, if I remember correctly.
So there's a not giving me what I need. Where's weapon? So skills, this is, okay, acrobatics, animal handling. These are the skills that I'm looking at. Not proficiencies, which in my brain are skills. So that language shift is gonna be a thing. A little bit of a thing.
Well, so proficiency in this is used kind of for everything. Weapon proficiencies, armor proficiencies, skill proficiencies, and you get a flat proficiency bonus as you level up. And that proficiency bonus gets higher and higher as you level. And you either are proficient or you're not. You're either rolling a stat plus proficiency or just the stat. You can be proficient in tools, same bonus. Proficient in skills, same bonus. Proficient in weapons, same bonus.
This says I can select
kind of nice. A lot less numbers to track than previous editions of D&D.
So, persuasion. Is that how that works? Sorry,
yes,
the skill set or the Excel sheet that we're using, I'm a little, it skills, lists the skills in blue, has 2 boxes next to each skill. One says adjust and one says proof. Help. What am I doing?
Are you using the Anvil Forge?
Yeah.
Let me see. Well, if I pull that up, it's going to mess with my recordings. But I believe there should be somewhere you can click to make it drop down. And that drop down will have a dot.
Yes.
And if it's a dot, that means you're proficient in it and it calculates the bonus.
Thank you. That is the word.
Big ups to the folks from Anvil Forge, by the way, for making this process a lot easier.
I'm usually a pencil and paper kind of gal, but now the pencils are holding up the phone, so this is going to be a little high-tech. Gosh. Sorry.
The future is now! Like it or not.
Is obvious. All
right.
So performance, persuasion, like some of that depending on charisma. I don't think deception's really her thing. I think she's a little more of a little more straightforward with it.
Right. Deception is also what you use for things like costumes. Depending on how you perform. Just throwing it out there.
I think her performance is, hey, look, I'm a dwarf. I have bagpipes.
You're more into reality shows than any of that acting stuff.
Appreciation of musicianship, you know. It's glam rock is fun, but there's also the just going and watching the guy's fingers on a bass guitar. That's a different sort of appreciation. And not a great analogy. I think I could have done better with that one, but whatever. Oh, that's why I left that open. Clan crafter. So does the background suggest skill proficiencies, or does it order them?
It will tell you. Sometimes it will tell you get this proficiency. Sometimes it will tell you that this skill is on your starting list. So you may choose to be proficient in it.
Well, this has history, insight. Oh, that's proficiencies. That is not the same thing as skills. That is gonna keep confusing me, and then I'll get used to it.
They are though. If those are bonus proficiencies, then that means you start out proficient in insight, the skill insight, previously known as things like sense motive or I don't know, other checks in other systems.
Yeah, and history, which also makes sense. So now there's 4 of 8. So. Look back what I did with things. Yeah. None of these are based on Constitution. Like, come on.
Nope. Nope. Hit points. Hit points are based on Constitution.
Give me areas sleight of hand is going to come into usefulness that aren't magic tricks. Not that I dislike magic tricks. She's just not that kind of performer.
Right.
So, stealth. It's just generally if you can take stealth for your character, do it. At some point, you're gonna have to sneak past a dragon. Put that. Every character should at least have that. If you put some points in there.
Yeah. Just at the most base. Like unless I consider it a decision not to include stealth. Like it's a character where like, okay, this guy is on purpose not stealthy. This is the paladin. Yep. This is no like clank. Who's in charge here?
Think.
Take me to your leader. Dude, this was an ambush. Coward tactics.
This is literally what I'm playing. So I'm playing Diablo 3 with my roommate and my sweetheart, and it's great. And this is what I play, is basically their paladin of walk in and smash. It's fun. So much fun. Button mashing.
Paladins are a lot of fun. My favorite paladin I ever made was a vampire spawn. He failed, and in previous levels he got killed by a vampire, became vampire spawn. His vampire master died, and then it was like his traverse back to the light. And I made it because somebody said, I don't like playing lawful good. I want to hang with like people that have to be nice. I'm like, whoa. Lawful good and nice are not the same thing. And so I proceeded to make this character. He was more in the punish smite side of lawful good.
I appreciate that. Okay, so perception seems like a good idea. It's like, all right, so I have one more point, and so it's deciding. I would spend way too long.
And incidentally, I am sure that all of the super pros on the internet are going to give you a whole bunch of suggestions. So if you have any ideas of like things or tricks that Dinah might pull off to enhance her concept, throw them in the comment section.
I'll read it. Nothing. I will actually read it.
I'll read it. To be perfectly honest, that stuff goes straight to my phone. If I could plug it right into my head, I would.
I'll get the water. So it's intimidation is great when you're a short, fat person. I like that. I like intimidation more than I like deception. So I think I'm going to go. So it's mostly just a lot of acrobatics. These are things that's like this makes sense to have learned in the college.
Sure.
So rolling is fun. So acrobatics.
You had to take a PE class.
History, insight, intimidation, performance, persuasion, and perception. Say that 3 times fast. And stealth.
Solid.
Also makes it stealth can be. Ooh, hey, no, that works to be. That makes sense because you don't want the audience to notice you before you want them to notice you.
Aha. Right. It's important. It's as important to hit the silent spots as the notes.
Mm-hmm. That's basically Dave Brubeck quartet.
Yeah.
Listen to the notes that aren't being played.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, and I remember one of the jazz greats talked about jazz being the sound that was created in between the silences. Okay, I can buy that. You may want to look into Arcana. Just throwing that out there. That's what lets you recognize magical things and like get an idea of what magically is going on around you. That might not be where you go, but I know in College of Lore,
how is that different from perception?
From perception, so you can see the creature with perception. You might know a story about how to take it down with Arcana. You can see the rune on the floor with perception. You can understand that it's part of a magical trap, maybe with Arcana.
It feels like if I was going to drop anything, then it would be either acrobatics or intimidation. I mean,
well, it's not crucial. I mean, it's not absolutely necessary.
When the GM specifically suggests that you take this, by the way, if you don't have this, it's going to be a lot harder for both of us to have a good time.
Well, it's just that it's common for arcane casters, just like knowledge, just like, the religion skill is common for other casters.
I feel like acrobatics is still a good idea, just because I currently don't have a meat shield, so
right.
Maybe getting to dodge is a good idea.
Right. And I'll be honest, whatever skills you pick, I'll make you use them.
I know. Ooh. Oh. Whoa. Oh, this screen is a lot larger. I thought it was. What?
Oh, you finally scrolled down on page 1?
I scrolled right.
Yeah. It has the whole... Yeah. It's got your entire breakdown there.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. What you got at which level from which thing. Yeah.
I get 3 languages.
Thanks, Anvil Forge.
Yeah. Obviously, Dwarvish.
Common is
I ended up on languages, so I'm clicking on it for a second. Do you have any... So the first part of it's there's like the common races that we'll see, and then there's like the chunk of like, I'm not sure how to pronounce that races.
Okay.
On their list, like Ara Kokra.
You did it right.
Oh, did I? Oh, nice.
Yep, those are bird people.
But is there anything like that that's prominent enough in your world that I would already know about that and have chosen that as a language to learn?
So given kind of your background story and concept so far, Draconic is kind of the Latin of the realm. It's what magical texts are written in. It's what treaties are written in. Things like that.
That makes sense.
Right. Because the king of one land and the king of the other land are going to speak their native language, but they need a language that they both speak fluently and is very, very detailed. You can't write a treaty in Goblin unless you write it in Pope.
Can we just pretend it sounds like Gaelic and then I can have songs in it?
Could. Yes. Honestly, if you don't move from the waist up when you dance to it, it all sounds Gaelic.
So
other languages that might be... I mean, unless you're into unless you're the kind of character that has a race you're not super into and like to hear what they're saying, that's more typical for like a ranger that has a favored enemy. The language of my enemies is important.
Yeah. Dwarvish, Draconic, and Common seem like what we're going with there then. Just right. It makes sense to be able to read Latin.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense as having gone to the Bardic colleges within the academy.
I'm hyper selecting chaotic good just because it's like, it's my brain's neutral. Okay. But I think that like it might actually be like definitely not. I apparently, the online D&D tests you could take. What's your alignment? I apparently, in some point in my life, went from chaotic good to lawful neutral as a human being, and that concerns me.
Sometimes they just have to die. It's okay.
Well, to back up your, you don't have to be a good person to be a lawful, and it's I have a set of ideals, and I firmly hold to those ideals. Basically, yes, that happened.
Well, somehow we get along anyway. I'm firmly in the chaotic camp. I'm wedged really hard in chaotic. I have no great love for authority or those who would be authority figures.
I don't want to be an authority figure. I just want people to not be dicks to me. But there's 3 rules.
Sure.
3 rules. Rule number 1 is don't be a dick. Rule number 2 is don't panic. And rule number 3 is safety. Any situation, these rules apply. I need that on a t-shirt. Leatherworkers tools. I don't know if there's other sets of tools that I actually need.
I think instruments count as tools. For purposes
Bagpipes! Bagpipes. Oh. Wait, there they are. Yes! What? Alright, leatherworking tools, bagpipes. No, not a dice set. I need an arrow. It's very exciting.
So it occurs to me, as I'm thinking through this character and experiences that must have shaped them, like being a bagpiper in college, and then I think to myself, but there have to have been in a college of a few hundred specialized casters with people with other dwarves from, there's so really what I'm saying is you were probably part of like a bagpipe garage band or something like they're a piper corps. Like I can't imagine you did that alone.
No. Can I play multiple instruments? Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Most people that play one play more than one.
That is my understanding as well. All the various people I know who play instruments. And this is the like little bit of like hard on for like Scottish history showing, but it has hand drum in here, and I was thinking it'd be a lot of fun to be able to play a bodhran, which is even cooler than a hand drum, dramatically.
Yes, it is.
So I'm
down.
Figuring out how to write it in. There we go. I'm not sure how to spell bodhran.
Bodhran.
Oh, well then I do know how to spell it. Never mind. It's giving me 5 sections for tools, but the only ones that make sense right now are leatherworkers tools, bagpipes, and bodhran. Is there something I'm missing that I'm supposed to be looking at?
Were you given any proficiencies? Like, were there any of your backgrounds or things that told you that you are now proficient in this thing, or that you have to choose from a range? Like, did you take the crafting background? Yeah.
Yes, and that was we said that was leatherworking.
Okay. Okay. That's
one type of artisan tools. Artisan tools and what that means. A maker's mark, chisel to mark your handiwork with the. It's not a chisel, but it's going to be a poundy thingy. Traveler's clothes and a little bit of money. And a pouch containing. They give you the pouch. They're very specific about the fact that they give you the pouch. Important.
It's D&D. Somebody's gonna take that pouch and kill a monster with it, and they have to know the rules for it.
So
I have a new challenge on my D&D list now, by the way. Like, kill someone with my woodworking tools. Like, or it doesn't have.
Well,
to
I mean, you get chisels with that. You can.
Right.
Thieves
tools. Do you have an option to get thieves tools?
I do have an option to get thieves tools.
Because disarming traps is no longer a skill. It's a tool proficiency. I mean, granted, rogues still.
Oh no, I don't have an option to get thieves tools unless they're under another name.
Okay.
I read Tinker's tools and thought it was thieves tools.
Tinker's tools are super useful. Just in general,
yeah.
If you're a lone traveler. Fuck my pan.
I'm a Tinker Tanner now. Oh gosh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, disguise kit is
at some point, aren't you?
What skill goes with, like, deception's going to go with a forgery kit, right?
That would make sense. I mean, why not?
Yeah. I
don't know.
There is these.
Well, have you?
We are
that
taking
that
thieves.
is a much. You mentioned that chaotic good was your kind of like mental default for characters.
Yeah.
There we'll kind of look to alignment. Are you a chaotic character who would carry forgery tools because you need to get across the border and their silly invisible lines are in your way?
I'm actually the difference between. Here's the question: Tinker's tools. What are Navigator's tools?
Those are mapping things, cartography, a I don't know what's actually in the kit, to be perfectly honest. I would think a compass, some basic tools like a Boy Scout orienteering kit is what's in my head. Like set of maps and map making tools, some basic like uh, compass and a slide rule and some things to get accurate measurements and scaling tools, things like that.
Have some of my additional stuff down here.
Yep. My very first D&D character did a whole side hustle making maps. There was a while when we were not
no, it didn't spill. I just was afraid of it for a second. We're fine. We're good. It's the Tinker's tools is the fixing things. Navigator's tools is surviving. Is there going to be more wilderness or less wilderness in this game?
I will be honest. The storyline and things like that are going to be very, very up to you. Especially in one-on-one, we have a lot of freedom for that. But I like my worlds to be sandboxy and character-driven. If your character is interested in a thing, I'll put hooks in front of you. I'll put the RPG equivalent of a dude with an exclamation point. I won't be that obvious about it, but I'll put things for you to do in there, but really it's up to your character. If your character's the type that's going to be interested in journeying across the lands and seeing all that you can see, I'll work that into the campaign. If your character is the kind that wants to like get to know a city so well that you rule it, I'll make that story.
Boy, are we gonna! I'm gonna find out too. I think I'm gonna go with the Tinker's tools, even though I personally am like, no, we're taking the Boy Scout backpack. That's what we're taking. I don't know that the character would do that. I think the character has spent probably a lot more time around people in, maybe not in cities isn't exactly the word, but she doesn't really go camping. You can't make any money going camping.
Yeah. Dwarves call that being a homeless. Like, why don't you build a house, slacker?
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Tinker's tools. All right.
I see dwarves as very like work centric, lots of pride in craft, and like, if you're poor, it's definitely because you're lazy. That's the only reason that you're poor as a dwarf. You're lazy or you got crippled nobly in a battle.
We're playing with the rules a little on this too, just so you know, but I think you okayed it. The dwarf race gives you artisan tools, and it specifically says smith, brewer, supplies, or masons. But we decided that leatherwork would work into it, and that's why the leatherwork tools. Covering that in case there's a you can't do that commentary. One type of artisan tools.
I'm okay with that substitution.
Which also works as leatherworks, so we can have tinkers make sense there. And it says 3 musical instruments of your choice. So I can take thieves' tools, but I don't have a specific reason to.
Well, when you find the tools you like, sometimes it's a two-way street when I do character creation like this. So you already have a concept, and that determines a certain number of tools. But now you have more than you need, so you're cleverer than you first thought you were, and so maybe you find other tools that you think will be useful and figure out how that fits into your concept.
And with I like learning how things work and figuring out how things and people work, getting somebody to show you how to pick a lock. What?
Yeah. If that's on the list. I think brewers is a great one. Nobody doesn't like the guy that makes beer.
But that's a bitch to carry with you.
Well, buy a wagon. Land vehicles, by the way. Like vehicles, also tools. So if there's something that says any vehicle or tool proficiency, so you got a brew cart. Just throwing ideas out there. If you're more the like on foot, I don't know, Johnny Appleseed kind of bard.
I just feel like she hasn't really paid attention to it. Like, makes money, hitches a ride. Stays in a place for a while. She's a trimmigrant, basically.
Herbalism. Yeah. See what happened there? By the way, we're from Humboldt County. And we're talking to the internet right now, and we have to define a word we just used. So, trimmigrant.
Oh, gosh.
Humboldt County is the center for cannabis production, probably in the world, definitely in the United States. And every time, right around harvest time, we get a flood of often international or people from many, many, many places that want to come in and work at manicuring the cannabis flower into what people buy, what those who are watching this might recognize as cannabis versus what we call farm cut, which is as it appears on the stalk, which is not quite the same. So it's lucrative work. It keeps a lot of locals fed, and in the meantime, we get this massive influx, and we call them trimmigrants because the job is known as trimming. So there, did it. Moving on, you're kind of a trimmigrant. Herbalism.
But I mean, she plays. So leather workers' tools, bagpipes, boderon, tinker's tools, and thieves' tools. That's enough to get needs met, and to get needs met and fix things. I feel like I might want a vehicle more than tinker's tools. I think I'm feeling like she's more. I feel like she's more neutral. Like, I don't want to actively hurt anyone, but I don't really want to actively help anyone either. I just am kind of doing my thing. And Thieves' Tools sort of seems to go against that, because it is taking somebody else's property, and she's a dwarf, so it's a bigger thing.
Okay.
So, talk to me about land vehicles, because there's a lot that can go wrong on a wagon.
Yeah, there is. Good thing you have lots of tinker's tools and shit. Although I think the vehicle also that includes like tools and spare parts to fix it, as well as the knowledge on how to use them. It turns out having a wagon automatically makes you able to change your spare, which we all know
only that was true here.
So we got your stats, your features, your skill proficiency. We don't yet have your battle kit. We don't have, the rest of your gear, and we still have yet to level up. Let's take a quick break, and we will come back and finish that.